This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you for joining our presentation regarding APSCA's CSCA exam. I'm Rona Starr, I'm the President and CEO of APSCA. APSCA's exam series contains 3 different styles of exams. Part 1 is 100 multiple choice and true-false questions and is currently undergoing enhancements as we prepare for the launch of our new languages. Part 2 is a case study which has multiple choice, true, false, and short answer questions. To be successful in the Part 2 exam, auditors are required to triangulate information throughout the case study and the appendix to receive full marks on many of the questions. There are multiple scenarios available and are allocated randomly by the computer as each auditor sits the exam. We're about to launch a new case study in the coming weeks. Part 3 is a one-on-one role play, which has the interviewer playing 3 different roles. Scenarios will include either an opening or closing meeting, plus 2 other scenarios, which are different types of worker interviews: migrant worker, supervisor, cleaner, etc. All 3 exams have a pass mark of 75%, and you are required to pass Part 1 before moving to Part 2 and then on to Part 3. If an auditor is at the RA level and does not pass any one of the exams, they are moved to the level of ASCA until they pass that exam. APSCA has always encouraged auditors to have their profile with APSCA updated to accurately reflect their language skills and ensure they are noted at the correct level. Language levels are only identifiable to APSCA and to the member firm that they have agreed to be associated with. If you are not advanced in a language to a level that you are able to sit an exam, please adjust accordingly. Accurate information enables APSCA to identify the top languages to translate the exam material into. Auditors noted as advanced in a language will be held to a timeline of sitting Part 1 exam within 6 months of the language being offered, or 6 months from the date that the RA becomes before the auditor becomes an RA. If the exam is not set within that time frame, the auditor will be moved to the level of ASCA. Part 2, they will need to sit that within 3 months of being notified of passing Part 1 or 3 months from the launch date, whichever is later. Once the exam has been set, it can take up to 14 business days for exam results to be issued. If the pass mark of 75% or higher has been achieved, the auditor can work with their member firm to be added to the exam request sheet for the next exam. If the pass mark has not been reached, the auditor will need to work with their firm's training team to close gaps identified within the exam and be added to an exam request sheet for sitting at a time that the firm believes the auditor is ready. All exams need to be booked at least 30 days in advance. APSCA offers resources to support an auditor's preparation to sit an exam. The auditor is encouraged to visit APSCA's website to review the webinars for the respective exams as well as the exam guides. These are available in the languages that the exam is offered in. The information within the webinar and the exam guide are to give assistance in the preparation. We do not give sample questions, and there is no mock or practice exam available. We encourage you to work with your training team to refresh your knowledge in the areas noted within the competency framework. Within the webinars, we highlight areas that others have experienced gaps to assist you in targeting your discussion with your training teams. Ensure to follow the guidance within the auditor handbook regarding the testing of your equipment and the preparation prior to sitting the exam. During 2020, APSCA enhanced the 2019 version of the Part 1 webinar to support member auditors' participation in the exam. This enhanced webinar is being translated into the languages which the exam is offered and will be uploaded to the website as soon as complete. An exam guide has also been developed and undergoing translation and will be uploaded to the website as completed. During quarter 3, multiple webinars were held in English, Chinese, and Spanish for Part 2 and Part 3 exams, as well as exam guides developed to support auditors in their quest for gaining CSCA status. Each of the webinars have been translated into the 4 languages the exam is offered in, as well as the guidance documents are available via APSCA's website and on the resource library. All of APSCA's exams receive oversight from PROC2U. PROC2U check the identification of the auditor and compare this with the photo that APSCA has on file. They review the room to ensure the auditor has no unauthorized material or no person in the room with them. They also check the computer to ensure that no unauthorized programs are running in the background. APSCA's expectations regarding ethics and integrity during the exam are noted in the auditor handbook. APSCA have a zero tolerance policy with regards to integrity issues occurring during the exam. APSCA does not and have never circulated exam questions or mock exams other than the questions noted within the auditor handbook, which provide examples of what the different types of questions look like. For example, select all that apply, 2 in brackets, true and false, short answer questions. If anyone shares or attempts to share an exam with you, please contact APSCA immediately. Auditors found to have benefited from receiving a mock exam and not reporting the shared exam material with APSCA will be dealt with via our disciplinary process. The penalty for sharing exam questions or copying and sharing APSCA's exam material can range from demotion of membership level and unable to sit an exam for up to 12 months, all the way through to revocation of APSCA's membership. 2020 was a very busy year with regards to exams. With less audits taking place, more auditors set their exams early. It proved to be a frantic 6 months, and we were behind in issuing results as an outcome of this. And for that, we thank you very much for your patience. We have caught up and generally able to issue results well within the 14 business days. Having said this, results can be delayed due to a number of reasons. One of the first reasons is invoices not being paid prior to auditors sitting the exam. Another reason is that auditors have booked and set the exam without obtaining the necessary approvals. And the third one is writing an incorrect email address noted on the exam at the time that the auditor commences the exam. And thus, when we issue the result, it doesn't go to the intended person. Our exam system does not talk to our data system or to ProctorU's data system. Therefore, it's important that you input your information correctly when starting the exam. There is no rush to complete this opening page. It does not count towards your exam time. I'm just going to share with you some of the exam results that we've experienced. Part 1 exam had a deadline for those advanced in the 4 languages that we offer the exam in to sit no later than 30 March 2020. Over 1,500 exams were set and a 79% pass rate was achieved. Since 2018, we've had over 3,300 Part 1 exams set by APSCA member auditors. A total of 18 of those exams were disallowed due to integrity reasons. Some of the areas of opportunity for the Part 1 exam was taken and developed into a webinar to assist our auditors in the preparation for the exam. A few of those areas of opportunity include not reading of the auditor handbook and the competency framework prior to sitting the exam. These documents highlight the areas that may be covered throughout the exam and include sample questions to understand the format. Use of APSCA membership number and glossary of terms. Ensure that you read both of those documents. We often see a gap in that, and those questions that are included in the exam are then often missed. Both of these documents have exam questions on the Part 1, and with regards to the use of APSCA membership number, there are 2 questions on every Part 1 exam focused on that particular document. So we encourage you to make sure you read those. There are also questions in Part 1 that come straight from the glossary of terms. Ensure careful reading of the question. So some of these areas of opportunity include, does the answer state that there's 1, 2, or 3 correct answers? Ensure you only pick the right number of responses. If there are 2 correct answers and you pick 3, the entire question is marked wrong, resulting in a score of minus 0.25. If there are 2 correct answers and you only pick 1, the highest score you can receive is 0.75, and that's assuming that one that you picked was actually a correct response. Ensure you carefully read the question and the answer options. Remember, a good multiple choice question has a clear answer, clear wrong answers, and 2 that can be quite close in the middle. It might be just something small that makes the answer incorrect, hence careful reading is very important. Part 2 of our exam was piloted and launched towards the end of 2019, and there was a deadline for auditors advanced in Chinese to sit no later than the end of September. More than 2,200 Part 2 exams were set during 2020 with a pass rate of 67%. Auditors that are advanced in English or Spanish will have a deadline of March 2021 to sit Part 2. We currently have about 500 auditors who are eligible to sit Part 2. Some of the areas of opportunity for Part 2 include, and they're very similar to Part 1, making sure that the auditor reads the auditor handbook and the competency framework. These documents highlight areas that will be covered throughout the exam and include sample style of questions to understand the format. Use of APSCA membership number is another great document. There are always 2 questions on every Part 2 exam focused on the use of APSCA membership number. And then also review the areas of opportunity that were noted on your Part 1 exam report. Part 2 is a case study, so it's important that as you review that case study, you make notes as you read through so that you can triangulate information obtained throughout the case study to answer the question. If the question is worth 3 points, that means there are at least 3 answers within the case study that need to be included. So many people lose points because it's a 3-point question and they note only 1 response. Another area is within the short answers, and the responses can be quite vague. If you provide some substance to the response, it can be of great assistance to us when we're reading and scoring your questions. Ensure you answer the questions with the case study in mind. If you are sitting the exam for the 2nd or 3rd time and you get the same case study as before, ensure you carefully read that case study. Just don't jump to the questions. Set yourself up for success. During 2019, we piloted the Part 3 exam with 66 auditors taking place, and 58 auditors were able to complete that exam. During 2020, we've had 109 auditors take part with 100 completing the exam. The pass rate is currently 67% during 2020. We're continuing to work with PROCTOU on the IT issues that we have been plagued with. We are in the process of testing a new solution and anticipate expanding the number of invites shortly. We appreciate the patience that you have demonstrated through this learning process. For the Part 3 exam, areas of opportunity also include reading the auditor handbook and the competency framework. Whilst I understand that you've read these documents a few times, at least this should be your 3rd exam, it's more than likely that it's been a little while and it's worthwhile refreshing your memory. With all of the exams, these documents will highlight the areas that may be covered throughout the exam and include sample style questions to understand the format. They also provide you with a list of resources that you can use during the exam, and they also provide you with a refresher on the terms and conditions of sitting the exam. The use of the APSCA membership number on a Part 3 exam, there is 1 question on this, but it's very important that you do, at this stage becoming certified, understand how to use your APSCA membership number correctly. We also encourage you to read the areas of opportunity that were noted on both your Part 1 and Part 2 exams. Part 3 is 3 separate scenarios where you will play the role of an auditor and your interviewer will play 3 different roles. It's important that you are reading the scenario and asking questions of your interviewer and listening to the answers, making notes so that you can ask follow-up questions and triangulate that information being received. At the end of 2 of the 3 scenarios, there's a question for you to answer, and the information gathered during the scenario and question time will assist you thoroughly in answering this question. With all of our exams, we have webinars and an exam guide posted on the resource library of our website to support your preparation. We share real examples of where auditors need to improve, and in each situation, you should work with your training team to prepare. And don't forget the basics. During 2021, the CSCA exam will launch in 6 additional languages. The Auditor Handbook, Competency Framework, Code and Standards of Professional Conduct, exam questions and scenarios are all in the process of being translated and verified. As each one of these are completed, they are uploaded to our resource library. We will notify members when a launch date for each exam is available and what the due date for sitting the exams will be. Part 1 of the CSCA exam is in the final stages of a complete rewrite of the questions and will be launched shortly. Part 2 has a new scenario that auditors will start seeing over the next few weeks. APSCA's exams are being reviewed and updated regularly. If you see any practice exams being distributed, either from your firm or from another auditor, please report this to APSCA immediately. We have not provided this information to anyone, and using any mock or test exam is a sanctionable offense and subject to the disciplinary board, which can result in revocation of your APSCA membership. Please assist APSCA in helping to continue work towards the achievement of our vision of being the trusted professionals in the industry and our mission of enhancing the professionalism and credibility of the social compliance industry. Together, through the examination process and the ethics and integrity process, we can strive to achieve both our vision and our mission. Please join us for other webinars and for our annual general meeting and stakeholder event.